Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Autism and Doctor Who series that we're doing for the start of the summer, let's say. But I'm joined with Ethan, and today we're actually going to be speaking about Crohn's disease as well, because I learned that Ethan has Crohn's as well, so that's really interesting. So Ethan, thank you for coming on.
No worries, very happy to be here.
Yeah. So yeah, Ethan. If you just want to do a little introduction of yourself.
Of course, I'm Ethan Warren. I'm an actor who posts content mainly cosplay related on TikTok under the header Goldblum's Bitch, as in Jeff Goldblum. I'll never know why I picked that. I'm someone who suffers with Crohn's disease. I was diagnosed in 2016, and I've been diagnosed with traits of Asperger's syndrome since I was 3. And I'm a massive Whovian, so I'm very looking forward to this.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I was actually surprised when you said you have Crohn's, because I didn't know that. So it's something else that we could talk about. Yeah. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's in 2017. So you was diagnosed a year earlier than me. Like, how was that process for you? Like, getting diagnosed with Crohn's?
It was quite frightening, I'm going to be honest, because it was one of those things where we didn't know until we finally eventually went, until things got quite serious. Because my mum was diagnosed in Crohn's with Crohn's just before I was born, very late 90s, early 2000s. And we never thought that I don't know myself if Crohn's is something that could be passed down or not, but it was something that my parents believed could be passed down. And then it was around the end of 2015, start of 2016, we just noticed things weren't working right with my body generally. I was at the point where it's a very cheery start to your podcast, this. It was a point where I was very extremely malnourished, because my throat and my bowel and everything had all inflamed to the point where I couldn't digest food, and I could barely digest food, and I could only just digest fluids. And obviously I was having to go to the bathroom with vomiting and the other end, to put it cleanly, countlessly. And it got to the point where one day, I think it was my dad who had finally just had enough, and we went to the hospital, and after a few tests and cameras and stuff, they said, yep, he's got Crohn's disease. So it was a terrifying process of complete uncertainty and just thinking, oh God, what's wrong with me? And it was having to spend like once a week inside hospitals, or staying in overnight, or staying in for weeks. But as soon as that sort of period, about 2 months, during about April or May, as soon as that was over, it's been much more manageable and contained. As I'm guessing you'll probably know, the diagnosis period is much more difficult than the rest of it when you know what's going on.
Yeah, it definitely is, because I had to fight to get appointments actually, because what happened was the year of 2017 for me. I like you, I struggled to eat. I couldn't. I would have put on these liquid drinks that they would give you to try and see if you can't eat anything.
Yes.
And I lost lots of weight as well. Lots of weight, and I got diagnosed by having that. I kind of lost a piece. So having that drink that we have, and
Modulin.
That's it. That's it. And it's not nice, is it?
No.
No.
I've never known a substance could be so thick in my life that's still drinkable. Never known something like that.
Yeah, and I was saying, I don't need any more. I've had enough. And I was empty anyway, really, because I wasn't eating anything. And that's supposed to make you keep going to the toilet, and I didn't. It's weird for me because I was empty anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, like you say, that is the hardest part when you're getting diagnosed, and I suppose it gets easier after that.
Yeah, well, because they start giving you tablets or Modulin or steroids or whatever it is they put you on. You get that recovery period.
Yeah. Like, what are you on? Did you take any tablets at the moment, or anything?
Currently, I can never remember
Yeah, the
the
names are off,
milligram
aren't they?
dosing. I always have to write it down in my hand
Mm.
before checkup appointments. But I take allopurinol and azathioprine, and that's what I take. But I did at the start of 2016, I had to go through 8 weeks of just Modulin. Oh, and as a treat, I was occasionally allowed. I remember plain Fox's mints and polos. I remember they were foods they said I could digest, so I felt like my breath was lovely.
Yeah, it's annoying. Like I'm on azathioprine as well, actually. I've been on that ever since I was diagnosed.
Yeah,
Azathioprine, and I take Humira injections every 2 weeks. Um, and vitamin D, B12 because I suffer fatigue quite a lot.
yeah. That's the only bit that I can handle. Everything else, that's the one bit that really annoys me. Is the
Yeah.
fatigue.
It's awful, isn't it?
Mhm.
Like, like I always noticed the difference when before I was diagnosed. Like I wasn't as tired and everything, and now I fall asleep.
Yeah, straight away.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Like that part of it of things.
Yeah, it is because as well, it affects my job as an actor because I end up having to go through days of about 5 or 6 hours of rehearsing for whatever play is going on at college, and I'm wiped the entire time, and I'm grumpy and moody because I've got no energy in me. But and then you go home and you pass out.
Mm,
So yeah, that's the only bit that I still, obviously you struggle with all the symptoms of any illness that you're diagnosed with, but that's the one that will always stick out as one that still irritates me.
yeah, yeah. Like it must be scary as well with pandemic as well, or even during the pandemic,
Oh,
being vulnerable to
it
it.
was petrifying, yeah.
Yeah, and it's still here as well, isn't it? Like other people who not vulnerable or anything won't think anything of it, really, will they?
No, no, exactly. There's still, I, I'm almost envious of their ignorance. Because no matter how well, no matter because there's, I hear stories of friends who get COVID and they're not vulnerable in any way. They've not got any illnesses or any infections that make them vulnerable, but they still say that it's like the worst flu that they've ever had in their life.
That's it.
But as soon as any vaccine or booster comes up, it's straight away in the arm, done, get it dealt with. Because I was infected with COVID twice. Third time, will never. I wasn't told what it was, but I isolated straight away. But it was again, it was very much being back in that place of 2016 where it was weak, fatigued, no food, feeling like I'm on the deathbed. It was absolutely petrifying. So as much as I hated people's ignorance at the time, I was slightly envious of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's annoying when when having Crohn's, you have to repeat yourself quite a lot of the time, don't you? To different
Yeah.
people, even the same people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yep. Unfortunately, we have to do that, and it can be annoying. Like for me, I've this podcast they keep me occupied and doing Doctor Who TikTok during this time, like last few
Yeah.
years. So like because not being able to see people as much as I'd like to because
Yeah.
of being vulnerable, and the medication like the Humira is like the cancer patients take that, so it's annoying in a way. Like if I wasn't on these medication, maybe it might have been maybe a bit more to take more bigger risks.
Maybe, yeah. But like you said, you're doing brilliant work, and the TikToks are great. So as long as you found something that keeps you going, that's what matters. Because that's all you need. You just need one thing to get you through,
Mm.
no matter how weird or boring other people think it is. As long as whether it could be jigsaws or making your own bread, like that big bread making stage of the 2020 pandemic, the first one. As long as you got something, that's what matters, no matter what it is.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Like yeah. Okay, I I got told to download TikTok sometime in 2020, and then you download it, and then it turns into a Doctor Who app.
Pretty much, that's all that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that something like you kind of like to do as well, like just Doctor Who and on TikTok and everything?
It mostly is. I mean, I'm quite the geek in general, but Doctor Who will always be the biggest hyperfixation, the biggest obsession, the biggest love, and it's the one that, in terms of putting content out there, I feel, I don't know what the right word is, maybe the safest posting, because as a, obviously there are parts of any fandom that are, you've got the toxic side of any fandom, but as far as I've seen, the Doctor Who side of TikTok tends to be quite nice and stays away. And if someone who's not a Doctor Who fan and doesn't get what you do and leaves and actually comment, you'll have people that would, back that up and say, "I won't leave it." And I mean, I've been cosplaying since I was about 9 or 10. That was roughly my first con. Was around about 8, between 8 and 10. That was around my first con, and I've been wearing outfits since then. And I got irritated that the only chance I could actually show off these outfits was once, maybe twice a year at a convention. And then TikTok came along, and I thought, well, there we go. I've got an excuse to wear them more often.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And like, I probably would have gone to like one of these events, like WhoCon events, but I never really heard of them. And since I was diagnosed with Crohn's, so that didn't help much. I would have gone to David Tennant one this year, but that's a shame. Like seeing other people. It's like, it's cool, isn't it? Like you see other people doing it, and you can't do it yourself.
Like I say, part of you is very pleased that all your friends on social media has met Mr. Tennant, and then there's that part of you deep inside there's pure jealousy.
Yeah, just
you'd give anything to swap places.
yeah. I'm not as fussed about meeting Jodie. Like, I'm like, I'd like to meet her. Like, I think everyone likes to meet a doctor, but
yeah,
she's not my doctor.
I'm guessing Tennant's yours.
Yeah, yes, he is. Is he yours as well?
No, mine's Eccleston.
Eccleston,
I was 1 year old when it came back in 2005, and my earliest memory, genuinely the earliest vision I had in my brain, is that shot of Nine and Rose running down that corridor as the Autons are sticking their arms through the walls, and that bit in the lift. And then after that, just visions of the Dalek in Henry Van Stan's museum, or the gas mask zombies and the Gelf. Just little visions like that. So Eccleston, not only was he my first, but he's always been my favorite. I can never explain why, but there's always something about him that I will never not adore. I will always love the way he did it. Yeah. I mean, Tennant's up. There's not a single doctor that I dislike. There's not a doctor that I think that, he's he or she, or they're worse than that one. I've never ever thought that way. So all of them, I don't think a doctor has done a bad performance. I don't think there's one in sight, but Eccleston is the one that will always have that little special bookmark. He is in my head Doctor Who. When I hear someone say Doctor Who, I think of that leather jacket.
Yeah. He should be my favourite. Well, I have a special place in my heart as well for him, because he's the one who started me to watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah,
like it should be. And I was 5 when I watched it. Petrified of all the different monsters that age. I always think of like the main ones that pop up are the Clockwork Monsters.
Yes.
The first one really that petrified me.
I think my first was the werewolf in Tooth and Claw. I think that was the first one that my parents said gave me nightmares. They found me sneaking into their room at the night going, "Mum, there's a werewolf under my bed." I think that was the first one that really frightened me.
What about the mummy ones? They said I
Am Your Mummy, the gas mask zombie.
Yeah.
It was one that, as a child, I never understood the fear of it. That never really connected to me. That not only is that the monster, the target audience for Doctor Who, it's always family, but Doctor Who will always mean something so much more to children and to kids. It has that extra little bit of magic for children, and I think it's one of the best things Moffat did as an idea to make the people that love the show the enemy. But it never clicked to me with it as a kid that was something scary. But I remember I didn't rewatch the first time I ever rewatched it after being like 5 or 6 was I was about 14. No, I was it was I was I was about no I was about wait I think I was 13, and it was during when I was in hospital with Crohn's, and I had one of those really old little DVD players with the screen, the little portable DVD players
Oh
for the
yeah.
time you take on holidays. I had one of those, and there was a CEX or some sort of charity shop near the hospital, and my mama got in and found a bunch of Doctor Who DVDs for like 50p, and got you these. You can watch them; it'll cheer you up and get you through all the scans and stuff. And I was like, okay, and I was watching that episode, and it really connected with me for the first time ever. That not only is that a child, but that's a dead child, because underneath that mask, they're corpses. That is when I really actually got scared of it. I woke up with nightmares in the middle of a ward, like 4 or 5 a.m., thinking the nurse who was about to come in would have a gas mask on her glued to her face.
Yeah.
But the child was scary. But the scene of that episode that will always, the thing that I think is always scary is when Nancy is handcuffed to the soldier who's turning, and he's pale and he's gagging and he screams it, and you hear the bones crack as you see Nancy's terrified face. I will never ever understand how the BBC let that get shown on a Saturday 7 p.m. for children. I will never understand that. I salute them for it. I think it's brilliant.
Yes, that like me as a child is thinking, this could happen to me. I'm not gonna have like happened to me. Or just those little things, and like I used to have the box set, like the TARDIS with the TARDIS one where you have all the episodes in it, and
Yes.
I thought that was pretty cool. It shapes into a TARDIS of all of the first season's episodes.
Yeah, I remember I do have those still buried somewhere in the loft or on that shelf that's just off camera. But I was a proper little nerd as a child, because I would never watch the episodes. I would watch Confidential, the behind the scenes stuff. That's what I would rewatch over and over again. Like I'd watch the episode and I'd go, that was great, that was fun. But if Doctor Who Confidential was on, I'd be glued. I would not move from being sat cross-legged on the floor. I wouldn't dare move. That or totally Doctor Who on CBBC. That pure nostalgia being a child. But I had those. But obviously, it was one of those things where I was taken to the hospital about 4 a.m. So I was packing the emergency essentials, not really the luxury ones. And I live in Stockton-on-Tees, which is in the northeast. But the hospital I had to stay in was the magnificent RVI in Newcastle. I have to visit the hospital every few months. I've never known stuff like it. Obviously, the NHS, nurses and doctors, beautiful. I think truly the best of humanity. But it was Newcastle from Stockton is a good hour and a half drive. So it was one of those things where I couldn't exactly just ring my mum. If you do me a favor, can you just head home on the train and and go grab this DVD for me? But
Yeah, it always is a place that like I always thank all the staff, like how well they've done, like in
Yeah.
like with getting diagnosed, and but after it was hard. I just got given a leaflet. I did tell you what Crohn's was a little bit, not much, and then go home, go Google, see what it is, and and
Yeah.
panicked more, and made me panic more from seeing that, and possible surgery, stomachs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I had an experience where it was because I had to stay in a local hospital, North Tees hospital, for about 2 nights when I was woken up at 4 a.m. And then I had 2 days clear at home, and then they said, and then I had to spend that week at the RVI in Newcastle. But those 2 days, I was in the car with my dad, and we were just stocking up on petrol. And my dad just went, okay, I've got on my phone the list of symptoms and what could happen when you go to the RVI, and I was seeing things like catheter bags and, like you said, surgery and stuff, and he truly terrified me with all this stuff. And I go, and they were like, you just drink this milkshake stuff and you don't eat for 8 weeks. And I was like, I'm being terrified for with all this like House of Horror stuff instead.
It's awful. But like, have you ever been into like A&E if you've had a really bad flare?
I've never had a flare up so bad that to be taken into hospital. I maybe I've only ever had one flare up since the diagnosis, because that's the thing with Crohn's. It's such a in the air illness. They say that I remember when one of my doctors told me that when I was diagnosed that your flare up could be in 2 years, or it could be in 20. Like, it's such a random thing. You feel absolutely fine, and the next day flare up kicks in. I've had one since then, and I remember I was in college, and I thought I was in Vietnam. The amount of pain and terror I was feeling, but I was able to ring me doctor and said, right, drive down to Newcastle tomorrow and you'll be fine. It was also, I've never had to have A&E Russian hospital experience. I've never had it that bad. Have you?
This was before I was diagnosed. It was, and yeah, I had to go in A&E quickly. Which I've said to many people who have Crohn's as well, that it shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be going A&E at all. We should be going somewhere else, because as emergency services A&E, and that's accidents normally, and of course Crohn's isn't. So yeah, and I'm quite sensory with my autism, so I don't like being in with lots of other people as well. And yeah, they didn't at the time. They didn't have any rooms to go in, so I was eventually moved into a different one. But yeah, that has been the only time really. And with Crohn's, I do get blood quite a lot of times. It's one of the other main symptoms, along with fatigue. Having blood in your stools is not nice as well. It's not very nice first time.
Yeah, no, I don't get that often. I get every now and then. But the first time I did, it made me go pale. I did things I thought I was dying. I'm one of those people that I'm very sensitive when it comes to medical stuff. I'm very anxious about it. So I could trip over a t-shirt and think, this is it, I'm dead. When I'm mid-fall, I know that I land and nothing happens. I'm quite over dramatic in terms of illnesses in medicine, but as soon as I saw blood, yeah, it was terrifying. But then I was told, yeah, it's fine, just take these and you're fine. So it was one of those things. But I get why you'd be taken to A&E for that.
Yeah, and at that time, like the pain when I was in the flare. First of all, the pain was in my stomach, and you could just feel the feeling. I felt the feeling. It was like acidy, burny as well. That burny, acidy feeling, and that was one of the reasons. But because I couldn't sleep, I had to be taken in because I can't be staying like this. Like you do, you feel like you're gonna die.
It's terrifying.
It's like your insides are burning up. And you can understand it's all red inside. You can feel it's all red, although we can't see it's red. We can feel it. It's horrible, isn't it? And that was the main reason I got taken in, because I couldn't sleep. I said, I need to be seen now. And the annoying thing is, when you're in A&E, for anyone, you're in those annoying beds and moving around all the time. And I swear I was moved around by 5 or 6 times to a different room every 30 minutes.
Well, that's because as a country, we're known for having so much of a nightlife where there's endless people who go out and they drink and end up with broken limbs or bar fights and even more horrible things such as stabbings, God forbid. So it is a matter. I mean, I've never been in an A&E, but I have an auntie and uncle who are nurses, and I've often had to do shifts in A&E, and they've described about how it is literally move along. We have to treat you when we can, because one minute you go, okay, we can handle this patient, we've got the time to, we can do that, and then someone walks in with a missing leg, and then they have to rush straight into something else. It's crazy. I mean, God bless for having to work that much.
Yeah, I always thank the NHS. Like I thanked them as well. Like we all thanked them at the start of the pandemic, but we should be thanking them
Yeah, yeah.
anyway before the pandemic, really.
No, exactly.
Yeah, like you see people getting toilet rolls, soaps, and you think, oh, people are washing their hands anyway. um,
Well, I remember that was the moment when I knew this country, because obviously this country has had to go in and out of constant lockdowns, and there have been countless stupid stories we've heard of various people trying to get through COVID in ways that are illegal or just don't make sense. And I remember they said that COVID might be on its way, and they showed the list of symptoms, and everyone went and grabbed toilet roll when none of the symptoms you'd need toilet roll for. So it's like, of all the things you're going to stock panic buy, you're going to pick that over things like medicine, or like things like medicine and soap. Like, sure, I can get that if that's something that you should be washing your hands before COVID. But if you haven't, then sure, I get that. But toilet roll, and when people started stocking things like pasta and yeast, it's like it's not The Walking Dead. What do you think's going to happen?
yeah, we're not all gonna starve. We're not in the we're not at the end of the world, so we're all right. But
Fingers crossed. Touch wood.
yeah,
Touch wood. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Let's hope so. Anyway, but yeah, it's annoying that well, whenever people were moaning about toilet rolls, what I did, I thought I would play a little game with myself and board and lockdown, do a little football, treat the toilet rolls of football, and do do little like the kick ups, and then
Yeah.
I shared the video now, and people saying they comment on it, and one person said, older people could be using that toilet roll, and I said, I'm just having a bit of fun. You've all got too many toilet rolls. I'm going to use it. I'm not going to not use it.
Yeah.
So we'll have a bit of fun. But yeah, it's crazy that people at start the pandemic just doing it, getting all this stuff now.
Yeah.
That is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. But yeah, with Doctor Who, I always go back to it though all the time. Like if I've watched the same episode 100 times. Especially the first one, Rose. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my most watched one. I will watch Doctor Who at least once or twice a week, just to get going, get through. I think my most watched one is either The Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead 2-parter, because that's, for me, that's the peak that we had for the RTD era, or the pilot, Bill's introduction episode with Capaldi, the pilot. Absolutely adore that one. That's the one that I think is, if a fan didn't start with Rose, they could easily watch that one and bum into it. It's just such a perfect, I can switch my mind off, I can enjoy it. There's just enough little nods, like the pictures of Susan and River on the Doctor's desk, enough to, and like the Movellans at the end. There's enough to make me go, oh, I can sink my nerd teeth into this, but enough to just be able to wipe my brain off and just relax for about an hour.
Yeah, I think that 2-parter in with the Vashta Narada was awesome. I love that one, and I always go back to it. I think it's awesome, and it's a shame we haven't seen the Vashta Narada since then.
Here's a shit. Well, I remember they did that really odd Doctor Who video game, with Matt Smith. They did those adventure games you could download off the BBC website.
Oh yeah,
they did one with the Vashta Narada. I never did that one.
Oh yeah,
but that's the only time I can think of. A Big Finish, the incredible Big Finish. They did a story with one. I think it was Tom Baker number 4, Paul McGann number 8. Oh no, it was both of them. Yes, both of them. They did ones, but I'd love to see them come back on screen, but I don't know how they do it. I really don't know how they do it. I'd love it, but I ain't got a clue.
Yeah, because it's hard to get them back because um they're very. It has to be somewhere dark or something.
Hmm.
And that episode was really like the with David. Like he had some really good cliffhangers on his episodes, and especially at the end of the season. I think every season should be like the master one.
Yes.
Or like you had Utopia, then you had
Hmm.
the end of the time. So some of the Time Lords, like stuff like that. It's good to end the season, and then you get the on the last episode, you kind of get it end for that season.
Yeah.
It should be more like that, and like with Flux recently, there's I think a cliffhanger each episode.
No, it did, yeah. Well, because it reminded me very much of Classic Who. How Classic Who you'd watch a story that has about 4 to 6 parts, and they'd always have a cliffhanger. No matter what it was, it could like that very famous or infamous cliffhanger where Sylvester McCoy's number 7 when he's walking on the balcony and he uses his umbrella to dangle himself off the balcony and then panics because he's slipping and is falling, and then that's the cliffhanger. It reminded me very much of that Classic Who sort of stereotype of making anything a cliffhanger. Obviously, there are some moments that deserve cliffhangers, even in no matter how old the story is. There are some plot points where you need that big dun 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 moment, but there was some, even in Flux, there was some where I just went, that's the big shock. That's the big what?
Yep, we didn't get any answers though, did we?
No, because I remember seeing they did that poster for Eve of the Daleks, the New Year's one just gone. You know, the TARDIS wrapped in those orange vines that glow, and I was like, oh, we're still gonna get some answers from Flux. We're gonna know that like it's still trying to make its way, like the end of the universe is still coming. No, big build up the whole series of the universe and the universe is ending. It's not anymore. It's fine now.
Yep.
It was that. That's literally what it was.
Changing now. Yeah, and then I think you just had the recent episode.
Legend of the Sea Devils. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I didn't think much of it, but it's an okay episode. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was one that for an average run around, it was okay. But I know a lot of fans on Twitter said this. There's a lot of bits that just it feels like something's missing. It feels like that's not the full script. That's not everything they've filmed. They've missed some bits. Because I remember when I watched it, it felt a bit like Whiplash because it was like the Sea Devils explaining their plan, and then all of a sudden, oh, the plan's been stopped. It felt like bam, it's done, and I was like, they only just told you what they're doing. It was there was no big build up or suspense. I don't know what I don't think they should have made it like a 2-parter, but I remember looking at the running time and it said it was like 42 minutes or something like that. But it's an anniversary. It's not an anniversary special, but like, it's a special. Those are normally about an hour, maybe like an hour and 15, and it's longer than an average episode. It's about 45 to 50. I do think it's missing that 15 minutes. If we had that 15 minutes, I really think we would have had more.
Yeah, like you see the trailer for her last one. Like surely with all those people that are in it, it's got to be an hour and a half at least.
It better be.
It's got to be, hasn't
it? It better. If it's not, that is my big fear. Because I remember I watched the trailer and I got because I'm going to be honest, I love Jodie's Doctor. I think she's one of the best like instincts we've had in ages. Because obviously there's the Doctors of actors who've built up, and at the end of their run, you've gone, they were really good. But Jodie is one of the as soon as it was the first episode, it was instant. I instantly fell in love from the first scene, from the regeneration scene with Jodie, with the grin saying brilliant. So he said that, I went, yep, that's the Doctor. I was convinced straight away. With some other actors, it's taken an episode or like nearly a season. I've gone, okay, yeah, you're the Doctor. And I think she's great. I think her companions, all of them, are really, really good. Mostly, I say mostly just because I think there are some things with Yaz that feel a bit last minute. And Dan, I think, could be the next Wilfred Mott, but he's missing that emotional punch because in terms of comedy, John Bishop's got it sorted. He's got it in spades. But apart from his on and off romance with Diane, he hasn't really got any emotion, like sad sad emotions. Sad emotions. That's a proper description. But he hasn't got any guilt or fear or regret, because obviously we had that. We've had Yaz with her scenes from Can You Hear Me, where we've had her running away from home and her difficulties working as a police officer. We had Ryan with his dyspraxia and losing his nan. We had Graham with losing his wife and his cancer. And then John Bishop came along, and I'm still waiting for that, because it's one of those things where if companion got killed by a sea devil, I'd be shocked, but I wouldn't be sad.
No,
it's one of those things he hasn't got that punch. He hasn't got that thing that really helps you connect with him. It's just, he said something. Don't get me wrong, I think John Bishop's acting is brilliant. He does it really well, but he needs that gut. And I'm terrified for the last story, the Sentinel special, because obviously we've got Ashard and the Sidemen back. We got I knew we were gonna get Daleks, but we've got Sacha Dhawan's Master returning. We've got Ace and Tegan and Kate and God knows who else they're going to bring in last minute as a big hurrah for Jodie. But I'm petrified it's going to be 40 minutes and don't get it. A bit like how Kate was in Flux at the end, and she had that gorgeous scene against the Grand Serpent or whatever his name was, the guy who took over unit. And I went, oh, Kate's going to properly have a story and on the run, and she's going to take down aliens. And then the rest of the story, she was just asking the Doctor what to do. It was one of those things where I felt I felt a bit cheated, because I'm a huge, Capaldi is my other favorite, is my other Doctor along with Eccleston. It's Eccleston and Capaldi always. And Capaldi's era, those 3 seasons are my favorite, because that's how I see who that dark psychological sort of Brothers Grimm storyline. And I loved the unit, Kate and Osgood, and I was so excited, and I was just completely let down. And I'm terrified they're going to do the same with Tegan and Ace, because I'm a huge classic fanboy. At the same time as Eccleston's series was coming on air, and David's first season 2, my dad had VHSs of classic episodes. So while I was watching stories like, Tooth and Claw and Screw and Union, I was also watching stories like Earthshock and The Curse of Fenric and An Unearthly. So I've loved characters leading in Ace my entire life, and I'm petrified they're going to get about 10 minutes, and that's it. I'm absolutely terrified.
Yeah, like, I think that's only part of what we're saying. Like, they wouldn't just show all those characters. There's obviously going to be a lot more characters in it.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't show Ace or Tegan in the trailer, would you? They would have kept that for the actual trailer near at the time. Like,
no, exactly.
Like with Captain Jack, we didn't really get him till last minute.
No, you always need something. You need something that draws the audience in, but you need something that keeps them there. Because if you show them what they're going to see, if you show them everything they're going to see, they've got nothing to stick around for. They've just watched it in the trailer. So you need those little kicks and punches, whether it's a character coming back, whether it's a plot twist, whether it's a new monster. You need something that will really stick them there.
Yeah. Like, I can see. I think Bradley Walsh will come back.
That was. I remember. That was leaked a good couple months ago. So we know Bradders is back. I think Ryan, because when they left, they got given psychic papers and they were talking about stone monsters and goblins that they'd heard about in different parts of the world. So my guess is they've been working with an underground unit, maybe as just little Earth defenders. So I'm guessing Ryan's going to be involved as well. Fingers crossed, anyway. Because I've got dyspraxia in real life. So I remember watching the first episode of Jodie's Era, and there's that scene where he's trying to ride his bike. And I was watching it with mates who didn't know what dyspraxia was, and they were laughing at it and finding it funny. And I was quite upset at that moment, because I was like, this is what I've got. And throughout his era, even though it wasn't really plot points like at the start of Series 11 with things like climbing ladders or stuff like that, it was still mentioned little bits, like in little background details, like in when he's doing in that. I remember the one that really stuck with me was in The Haunting of Villa Diodati, however you
Oh,
say it.
oh yeah,
There's that
that's it.
scene. Yeah, there's the scene when the companions are doing the ballroom dance, and you see Ryan having to look at where his feet is going, and he's constantly messing up the dance moves, and that's because he's got no coordination. That's dyspraxia. So I really, really hope that Ryan gets another shot, because I think he was a bit underused.
Yeah, he was, and like you got that didn't get much. His dad comes in the picture, and then you don't hear any of him. So it's a bit.
No, you get that big moment at the TARDIS doors that made that. I'll be honest, when I watched it, it made me tear up. I thought it was very beautiful, and it's that big moment of, all right, we'll get closer as father and son, and we'll never know if they did or not. We'll never know. You'll never get up again. I'm telling you now. We won't find out in the next episode. We won't.
No, they like it's it is it's a like it's annoying. I want it to be if they're gonna do this, it's either gonna be they won't do much for the 60th if they do go all big for this episode.
Yeah.
Like I can see you could probably see. I wouldn't say other doctors will come back, but they might. I don't know if they're bringing back whoever else back. Maybe they bring Tom Baker back because he was with one of the other companions, or another classic companion will come back.
Yeah.
Might as well bring Martha Jones back. Why not?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Because with the 50th, it felt like an event, because all the previous anniversary specials, they mostly happened during the wilderness years, things like that, like Dimensions in Time from 1993 that they did on Children in Need, that honestly it could give children nightmares. Or they had Scream of the Shalka, which I do adore. I do love that, the animated special with Richard E. Grant as the Doctor. But the 50th felt like such an event because we had the episode, but then we had the big proms event. Time in, I saw that live. I saw that at the proms live in the summer of 2013. I've got a little screenshot on my phone of me as a little 9-year-old in the audience. But they did the proms. They did that documentary Brian Cox. But then you had Night of the Doctor when McGann came back and did that 5-minute episode that still, in my opinion, is one of the best short stories in Doctor Who, and one of the best stories. I really wish it was longer because I thought it was fascinating. But then you had this new introduction of John Hurt. You had the documentary film about William Hartnell and how they started it, that Mark Gatiss made, An Adventure in Space and Time. It felt like a proper event. So I'm like you said, I really hope the BBC don't blow this all out on this episode this year, so that we don't get that feeling next year in 2023.
Yeah, it's like it looks like it's going to be a Journey and Soul and Earth kind of vibe where he's going. That's what it looks like. Like all doom and gloom, bring all the monsters back. It looks like all the monsters to come back anyway.
I was going to say there'll probably be a Pating somewhere.
Yeah.
There'll be a Pating somewhere.
Yeah, and they probably will, and they probably. I can't remember her first monster, Tim Shaw. I think it was. He'd probably come back.
Probably will.
It looks that way, but yeah, I don't get how it's all going to work though. Like, if you have all this going on, what's the story going to be like?
Yeah, because there's the big rumor going around. At least I've read it was a rumor. I don't know if it's confirmed or not, that they're going to have the 60th as a mini series rather than a one special. So obviously, having endless monsters and companions have come back, that works for a mini series because you've got like 5 or 6 hours where you can digest and look at these little segments. But if we're going to have one episode that's like 50 minutes, maybe an hour, that's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah, like I agree with the series. I even said before, I thought like maybe if many doctors don't want to come back for the 60th, give them an episode or so, or an episode each. For so like it's going to be 14 doctors. So maybe do it on for what episode a day for the week of November, or that week of November when it would happen, and then that'll go down nicely. Like I think I saw an interview that Crystal Eccleston done. He said he would do it on his own, not with anyone else.
So we could probably have something like Night of the Doctor where he would do an adventure where it's just his doctor. He wouldn't. It's a shame that, because I would love to have him elaborating and bouncing off, people like Tennant and Smith and Capaldi, and even and especially older ones like McCoy or Colin Baker. But if we get him back in any form, that'd be amazing. Because the Big Finish stuff that he's done alone, I think is truly some of the company's best work, and he clearly still has that flair and passion for the role, and he's still got it, even though he's had the longest break I think any actor who's played the Doctor has, from when they played it to when they reprised it. He's instantly back in that moment. But because we've had actors who've played older Doctors say they would do it, like Sylvester McCoy has started going to conventions in his costume and saying that he absolutely would love to do it, and people like Tom Baker obviously and Paul McGann. So we know the offer's there. All we got to hope is that Russell's hired them for the week. That's all we got to hope, is that Russell's hired them for a bit of filming.
Yeah, Paul McGann did an episode, so he kind of needs to come back, doesn't he?
He does. He's had a 1 hour TV movie and 5 minutes and an extra 5 minutes in terms of screen. Big Finish, he's had years of work, but he needs a fair shot.
Yeah, like I think out of all the New Who Doctors, David Tennant's had the most episodes.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, in his last series, he had like 20 episodes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Jodie's has the not as many episodes, probably COVID as well. But I think we would have been nice to have some more screen time with her. But yeah, but what I would like, I don't know by the time this episode comes out that we will know who the Doctor is, but what I would always like is, don't tell us until she regenerates. That'd be nice.
I would absolutely love that. My dream for the 60th is that Jodie's episode ends on her still regenerating, or we see like the back of the head of the actor, or maybe the hand, or maybe like a hand, and that's all we know. We know the hand or the hair, and that's it. And then the way the 60th works is, over the episodes of this miniseries, if they're going down that route, we have a Doctor on their own, or 2 or 3 Doctors on their own, and on this big finale, it's all these Doctors who are in separate episodes have all crossed together. There's 10 of them, or there's 12, or how many, or 12 Doctors, or however how many are willing to come back, and they're all facing off against this big threat that they can't defeat. They're losing, and then a TARDIS lands, and it's 14, just a step out of the box, still freshly regenerated, no clue what's going on. And that's when it's revealed. They step out the TARDIS, and then you have in big letters introducing blank as the Doctor. We don't have some big announcement during Wimbledon that they normally do. We don't have that. I want that big gap. I know a lot of people hate being held in suspense of who is it. I love it. I love how long the guessing games can last. And I always love how bizarre they can be. How 1 minute we go from someone like, I don't know, Lydia West or Hugh Grant to Danny Dyer. I love the differences between who it could be.
Always changing who the Doctor's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. And yeah, I feel that we normally would know by now, wouldn't we? The last time it was before now that we knew Jodie was the Doctor. So it's a bit longer wait than we're used to. So who knows? It'd be nice if we wait that long. But I feel we will know. I hope not. We don't know, but I feel the BBC and Doctor Who will want to tell the people who it is before she regenerates.
They'll probably announce it at least like a month before her episode airs in I think November. I think they said it's when airing. They'll at least do it around October, September.
Yeah,
I think that's the longest they'll leave it.
Yeah, I think it will be. Yeah, the episode. I think it will go out autumn. They said autumn, so I would have thought October time. But it's annoying that we have to wait that long.
A little bit, because that trailer, we'll admit, that was incredible. The episode, Legacy Devils, had some issues with it, mostly little things that you could change in script edit. But I remember it finished, and I was like, it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. It's not bad. One of the stronger ones of Jodie's era. And then that trailer, I spent a good. Actually, I was at a house party. When the episode was airing. I didn't watch the episode because my dad's a huge Whovian, as I've previously said with the VHS tapes. He's watched. He was, one of his earliest memories is Tom Baker's first episode, because he was born just as John Pertwee was leaving. And I promised my dad, I said, we won't watch it until I'm home tonight at like midnight. We won't watch it till then. But I got sent a link to a YouTube video. I didn't know I was clicked on it, and it was the trailer, the Next Time trailer. So I took a punt. I was like, there could be spoilers for what the episode just was, but I'll take the rest. Thankfully, there wasn't. But I remember I watched it, and everyone else was inside the house drinking alcohol and just talking, and I was outside sat on the trampoline in this little garden in this house and just screaming in the middle of the night. The neighbors must have been terrified because I'm just screaming, going, Tegan, Ace, Master. It was absolutely, I knew the only thing that I knew would come back was the Daleks and the Master. I knew because the Daleks always come back. That's always the way it is. Daleks always have to appear in some series, at least one series. There's got to be Daleks, and I don't complain about that. I absolutely love them. But it was the end of Flux when Time, I think it was the physical entity of Time that looked like the Doctor, said, "Beware of the forces that mass against you and their master." So he said that. I went, "Yeah, Sasha's back. Sasha's come back. Then that's fine."
I knew he was going to come back. It was obvious that he was going to come back. It gives you End of Time vibes, doesn't it? Like from David Tennant's time and like, but one thing to anyone who watches a Doctor Who episode and they're not come watch when it was what was on there, do not go on Twitter on the Doctor Who page because they have literally commentary of the actual episode.
Yeah. If there's an episode airing and you cannot watch it, or you are watching it and you just go, I can just scroll through during this bit point. Do not check social media when Doctor Who is on. Don't risk it. Mute the notifications, delete the apps. I normally delete Twitter when a Doctor episode is airing. I delete Twitter for the night because if I can't watch it, because I don't want to risk it. But yes. Biggest safety message we can send out there to Whovians. Don't check social media when an episode's on if you can't see it.
Yep, because as soon as afterwards you go on TikTok, I've done people doing videos about the trailer, and then and I think I did do a review on the episodes of the last episode, and I should be as nice as I can, but I didn't rate it, but it's an okay episode. It's not one I remember. Really?
No. It's one that when I woke up the next morning after watching it, I had to rewatch it again just to remember some bits and like, what did he have on then? And I watch it and I go, all right, he did, he did that.
And while I was watching it, I thought, why are they in the water? They have this big fish monster, I know, but the Sea Devils never came out of the water. They were just flying on the ship. This
has angered me to no relief. When I watched it, my blood boiled. Why did the Sea Devil do that jump? That awful Mario CGI jump. And the thing is, it looks bad, yes, but they spent all the CGI on things like the pirate ship and I don't know how to pronounce it, the Micah or the Merc thing, the one from Warriors of the Deep underneath the water. I get that, it's not gonna look great. But we saw in the next scene that the Sea Devil could teleport on and off the ship. So why did he jump? And Sea Devils can't fly. That Sea Devil must have jumped at least the distance of like halfway up the Eiffel Tower. It's a good distance to jump, to leap. I remember that genuinely, that was one of the bits that irritated me the most. That and the classic, I've noticed this pattern throughout Jodie's era. The bit that one of the many things I've loved of the Doctor is that a lot of people who watch the show for the first time aren't really fans, or like have seen an episode, say that, but he does like kill all the time. And he does kill all these people, doesn't he? But the Doctor never does it by choice. He always does it because he either has to or someone makes a sacrifice. And the Doctor always fights for that sacrifice not to happen. The earliest instance I can think of is Jabe, the tree woman in End of the World. He was constantly bargaining with her, don't do it, you'll burn, don't. However, it happened in Legend of the Sea Devils with, can't remember his name, the captain from 1533.
Yeah, that pirate.
Yeah, who did something. But there's that moment when the Doctor goes, I'm gonna have to do this thing and it means I die, and then this captain goes no, I shall do it. I shall take the place. I shall waste 3 years of my life that to come, and I will kill myself for you who are your doctor. Geordie's doctor anyway. Instantly just goes, yeah, bye. That's it. I know I'm not the only one who thinks this because this is all over social media. But think of speaking of the 10th, that moment Wilfred's in the Vivace cage, and the doctor, even though he's heartbroken and he knows he can't fight this and he knows he's going to die, he still fights the bullets and he makes sure that Wilf is safe. Geordie, I've never seen her doctor do it. I've never seen doctor do it. And the first time it really kicked in was Arachnids in the UK, when they have that scene when the massive one is dying because it can't breathe, and the Trump lookalike, the Trump parody, Jack something, he shoots the spider and kills it, and the doctor's like, but you didn't have to kill it. It was innocent, it was scared. But yet the doctor trapped hundreds of innocent creatures in the safe and they'll die horribly, and no one brings it up. No one brings it up at all. Or there's scenes like that. There's the scene with Graham when he's concerned of his cancer, or the old guy at the end of The Timeless Children who blows up all the cyber time lords. There are loads of times I've noticed, and like even the guy in Kablam, the left-wing man who fought against slavery and upper class issues, and I'm going to show that we need safety and rights. Doctor lets him get killed, causes him to get killed, but the nasty, right, corrupted slave owners of like the space Amazon, they get a slap on the wrist and told not to do it again. Just the big contrast between the Doctor. I feel if it was a plot point, if this Doctor doesn't know what's right or wrong, like 12's character arc of Am I a Good Man? If that was like a character thing and someone brought up that the Doctor just killed that person, let them die, and then the Doctor makes a comment on it, even if it's a bad comment, like they deserved it. That's at least something to the plot. It's the fact that it's just not answered or approached or even brought up on. I feel completely like I'm not attached to this Doctor as much as others. Because we've had scenes when Davros accuses the Doctor of being a murderer, and you have that montage of all the people that, even though the Doctor hasn't said he's lost, it still breaks his heart. You get those images of the smallest characters who've had 5 lines of dialogue, but they will never not. The Doctor will never forget them, and he won't feel guilt over them. Even after he fixes the Time War, he always does his best to save the human. Geordie's Doctor, I haven't seen her once. An example I can think of is Carl, the crane driver, in her first episode. All I can think of where she fought to save his life. Rest of them, I can think of one. It's either they die or they don't.
That's it. Like, it's like so much goes on in Doctor Who, and it's hard to keep up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ethan, talk to us about like you said that you had maybe some autism traits. Like, if you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. My parents noticed that I might. They didn't think out. I think I can't remember, but one of them thought I might be on the spectrum, because it was I wasn't in nursery or anything at that stage, or I think I might have just got into it, but I was really struggling to handle not only other people who were my own age, but just handling being out in public. One of my big sensory issues is sound and smells. If there's somewhere that's got a very strong scent, even if it's something that's a good scent, I can't handle it. I feel completely frozen and shaky. I can't handle lots of noise. I've got anxiety as well, diagnosed, so crowds aren't great. They're not great to look at and be inside. But it's the sound of them. It's the sound of all the people and all the noises. I can't handle it. Restaurants are my worst nightmare. I love them, but because there's always the strong smell of the cooking, even though it might be a smell that I absolutely love normally, but it's just how strong it is. And there's that many people you can hear chatting and glasses clinking, and you can hear the chewing, you can hear it all around you. And for someone who's on the spectrum, that those senses can almost seem heightened, because you'll go, but I can smell that, I can hear that, I can see that, I can feel that, and other people will sit around you who aren't on the spectrum. What are you on about? They don't get it as strong as people who are. but the big thing that really stuck out to them was how much my interest was almost slightly ignorant, as in, obviously with special interest and hyperfixations, I'm much better at being more polite and more interested in things that I'm not hyperfixated or interested in myself. I'm much better with that. But as a child, throughout nursery, I was quite the little shit, because I really wouldn't care about what the teacher was trying to tell us about spelling or what noise a cow makes. I wouldn't care. But as soon as the teacher would connect it to Doctor Who, I'd go, right, bam, I'll pay attention. That's when my I think it was my mum, probably. I won't give credit to my mum or my dad. It's one of them. It's one. When, okay, so actually must speak to someone about this, and I can't remember anything that happened, but I was told that they gave a diagnosis of, if we had more time and there was more chance to do a proper assessment, we could diagnose him. But at this moment in time, we can only really say that he's got traits, that he is on the spectrum, but we don't really know where, because obviously the current visualization of the spectrum is this big sort of circle sphere, and you as an autistic person are a little dot of color, and you're somewhere in this circle. You could be on the very farther out limits of this circle, you could be right in the middle. It depends. You can be anywhere in this circle. It's something that it will always have from my brain. I never see it as a bad thing. I've never seen it as a bad thing. I remember this when I was about 8 or 9. They went, okay, you could probably understand what this is, and trying to explain that he has got a condition to him now. And it was something that you see it in dramas and films whenever someone's diagnosed something like autism. Even good dramas like that, the brilliant show The A Word, which is the best I've ever seen autism represented ever. It's incredible. It's always such a sad and heartbreaking moment when the person is explaining what they've got. I never personally felt that or understood that. I always just thought, oh, so I'm a bit different. All right. I never think of it or thought of it as an arrogant thing, but I never thought of it as a weakness either. I just thought of it as that's just a part of who I am. It's just something that's there. Not even in a way of, oh, I've got to deal with this. It's just a matter of, oh, that's there. It's the same way of just, you don't notice your breathing. You don't like, I've got fingers, I've got arms. This is me. It's just, oh, that's just a part of who I am. I have air, I have these limbs. That's how I've always seen it. As I've gotten older, I've become much more used and adaptable. I'm not as, I know how to control myself in an environment that has strong sense or sounds, because there's earphones, or I have little techniques, and obviously the more normalization and awareness that's come around mental health. You can buy stimulation items and toys and sensory items anywhere you want now. You could find them in Tesco. Thankfully it's such a normalized part of culture that even if you don't have autism yourself, or you know anyone has autism, hopefully the average person will still have a positive, or more positive than used to be, especially if they're someone who's older, middle-aged, who's come from a childhood that it wasn't a thing. Diagnosis wasn't a thing. Mental health wasn't a thing. It was just, they're odd, get used to it. They're weird, get used to it. They're stupid, get used to it. Those horrible, bigoted responses to mental illness and autism and conditions in general. But thankfully, because it's so normalized, I've been able to feel more accepting of it. So I still have special interests. I still do have stimulation. I do flap my hands and shake them about when I'm excited. I do go extremely quiet and start twitching when I'm obviously in a bad way, and things I'm going around, there's too many smells, or I haven't got my earphones loud enough so I can hear the noise too much. But because I'm someone, the way they described it, as if we were going back to that circle thing, I'm somewhere, I'm not near the middle. I'm not near the walls either. I'm somewhere in between. So I don't know what the correct wording is. But I've met people in my class who, I'm a college student currently at Middlesbrough College, and there's people in my class, beautiful people, who are a bit more further into the circle or further out of the circle. So because I'm friends with people, really close friends with people who are autistic on various levels, and diagnosed in various different ways, or they aren't even diagnosed. They're still going through that waiting list assessment process, and self-diagnosed. I've been able to, you can obviously see that it's just become part of who we are and part of our world. Thank God it's not something that we should be afraid of anymore.
Definitely, definitely. And I was diagnosed with autism when I was 9, and that would have been 2009. And it seems like ages ago, but I don't remember awfully a lot of it because I was very young. And but I remember not accepting being autistic to start with, and then I grow my confidence, being more confident about doing different things. I go from a mainstream to a special school,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So I'm sensory, so I don't like noise too.
Yeah.
I don't like when people eat loud. I don't like people make loud noises. Um, Even though I may come across as a loud eater or something, or being loud too, but there's only other people I focus on, not myself. But
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Well, that's the way it is. You tune yourself out. It's the rest of the world that seems to attack you.
that's it. That's it. And it's so, yeah, it's yeah. I'm quite sensory, and I don't like but those on TikTok. Sometimes you get those I think ASR what things that people make those
ASMR,
noises, don't
yeah.
they? I don't like that because it irritates me.
I find them quite unsettling. I don't find them in a sensory. Well, it depends. If it's the ones where people like eat ASMR, or
Mm.
they're doing an activity and it's very quiet and close up, I hate those. I mean, I'm even twitching now, just thinking of it. I'll never understand the enjoyment of it. But people who just whisper into a microphone, I'm a huge horror fan, and that's something that seems like it's from a horror film. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel like something that would relax me. It's something that would really creep me out.
yeah, it is, and I don't get why. I can. I can see why people like it, but at the same time, I don't understand why people like it because
Yeah,
it's just irritating. And what's the point of it, really? At first,
yeah.
I thought, why are they blowing into a microphone? Why are they whispering at 2 o'clock in the morning? Um, yeah, but and there's on the other hand, there's videos that people walking in the woods, and then you think who's walking in the woods? It's like a horror.
Yeah. Expecting Jason Voorhees to come around the corner. I'm not expecting to fall asleep to this. It doesn't, it feels uneasy. It feels very bizarre.
Yeah, I've never gone live on TikTok before, so I only do that because there's I on TikTok people get banned for going live if
Yeah.
people are following you underage and stuff. So I kind of stay away from being live. I just put my Doctor Who content on there,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. I've done lives before, but then I read more into the precautions of it, like, just being banned over the smallest little things. And it was one of those things where I went, yeah, it's safer if I don't do it as often. I might do every now and then as if I get if I hit like a milestone, or as part of an event. Like, I know as time of recording, it's TikTok Gala Day
That's it. Yeah,
2022. I'm considering going live to do with that, because I don't have much drafts that I can post, and I haven't really got much time that I can film. But I will very rarely put myself live, and also just because I find those gaps, because there's always those gaps, no matter how big a following you've got. There's always those gaps where people don't talk, they don't send in questions, they don't give things to talk about, and you just sat in silence. You got nothing to bounce off. You sat waiting for someone to appear on your live. That it makes my blood run cold. I feel very,
yeah,
very deer in headlights almost.
yeah. I've gone live on Instagram before, but like I go live people talk about Crohn's. I've talked about Crohn's in the past because yeah,
Yeah.
my account is basically surrounded by Crohn's and autism as well. But yeah, I'm more used to going live on there, and uh, never done it on Facebook. But I know you can go live, and there you go live everywhere nowadays.
Yeah. I think Snapchat's the only one I can think of where you can't go. Well, I don't even know. I'm not a big social media person.
Yeah,
The only one I really use is Twitter. I tend to normally use social media and TikTok, obviously, but I tend to use social media as a way of messaging people, because that's the way it is now. Obviously,
that's
back in the day, you would say, "Yeah, what's your phone number?" But now it's "what's your Instagram," and then you can message people. I think it's brilliant message people throughout the. But I don't. I mean, you've seen on TikTok, I don't post loads. That's mainly just I'm very busy. With college productions, I'm very, very busy a lot of the time. But I'm not the type who want. I completely respect and understand people that want to be quite influencer and want to get brand deals and post things out. And obviously, I highly respect accounts that do things for awareness and charities like yourself. I think that's what social media should be for. It's pushing messages
That's
out,
it.
pushing messages out there. There we go. There's the speaking coming
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I do follow and I pay attention to. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and like, yeah, I think I completely agree. It's like a messaging service now, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you message like I don't really have many people's phone numbers, really.
I haven't phoned someone. I haven't phoned anyone in like in hospital. I haven't phoned anyone in years. I genuinely can't think of the last time I had a phone call with someone that wasn't a GP or a nurse. I honestly can't. It's always texting on Instagram or WhatsApp.
That's it all the time. But like one thing, yeah, like you said, I like the fact that people raise awareness and that. Like what I do for podcasts is the same what I do for TikTok. I will do lots of stuff in advance, and then I have time to post that. So like I've got videos going from 2020 still what I haven't posted or
Yeah.
on TikTok. So I did do some quite a lot of Easter content from the episode that the David Tennant's Easter episode. Because
Yes.
I love that one.
Oh,
Planet of the Dead it was
was it Land
called.
of the Yes, that's called Planet of the Dead. That was it.
Planet
I
of the Dead.
couldn't remember Planet of the Dead or Land of the Dead. But yeah,
Yeah.
Planet of the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah. I did quite a lot of content with that, like for Easter and stuff. And I still could post that, and I did some quite good scenes. But I'm not one to do one every day. I TikTok every day, every
No.
week. Like because I post one every day. I try to. I post one every
Yeah.
day. People think I do it every day, but I don't. It's weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Like
That was my routine throughout 2020 and 2021, the big pandemics. It would be spend every day in the back garden or on the landing, right, wherever I can prop my phone up best, and just film as much as I can before my battery runs out, before I exhaust myself, and then spend the next few weeks. I used to try and post 2 or 3 a day, and now I'll post 2 or 3 a month. It's very rare that I post. It's a shame. As soon as my schedule is much freer, I'll be able to get back in content again.
I suppose being an actor, you're a very busy person.
I try to be. But that's the thing, because I've done bits of work outside of college. I used to go to a PQA academy, a Pauline Quirk Academy in my local area, so I used to do stuff there. But at college, we tend to do about anywhere between 3 to 5 shows a year. This is only my second year there, so and last year we didn't get to do as many productions because of COVID and the pandemic. We haven't been able to as much because we haven't had audiences to do anything to for a good chunk of my first year. But I've got I think 2 to 3 more productions, and then I can relax and then look into the professional side of things. So after these 2 or 3 productions, my page is going to be constant posting and lives and whatever I can do, because I'm just going to pass the time.
Yeah, that'd be great. A funny story I've actually got, because when I was at school, like I think I was one of the last years in my school to do drama. Like I did drama course and everything, and because I couldn't do it because of the pandemic, so I was there, and I got diagnosed while I was doing it. Well, it was exams as well. So I got diagnosed with Crohn's, and then I come back, and then because I'm a major character, I played a multi-role character, so I was a couple of characters, and it was very hectic backstage, changing the clothes every 5 seconds, thinking, "Oh, I've got to do this now. I've got to be a different character now." And I wasn't as confident then, but I enjoyed that then, and it's something I'd like to get back into. I spoke to a few people who are actors, and I think it's really cool. And I suppose we act all the time, don't we? If you actually acting as a job or not.
Yeah, well, that was one of I guess so. Yeah, because obviously with autism, There, it's one of the things. It's not encouraged or taught, but because of, I mean, I went to a normal, average sort of secondary school where obviously, in primary school where I got bullied for being autistic and having disabilities and not being in classes often because I was having a flare up or having panic attacks or having a really bad sensory day and I was too overwhelmed to even leave the house. So it was something where as someone, you develop and teach yourself how to mask. You teach yourself how to mask sometimes when the tough bits kick in. So it's one of those things where you have to teach yourself. And if a therapist ever tells you to learn how to mask, they're not that nice. But if masking should ever be a thing, I highly agree with the message of be proud of who you are and be autistic, be disabled, go out there and be exactly who you are. And it's something that I tried to do my best to do now, and I wish I knew.
Yeah.
When I was going through my teenagers, I really wish I knew that. I mean, going through my teenagers, I'm only just 18. I've only just left them. But that secondary school period of being bullied and not knowing who you are and all that sort of stuff, you have to mask and fight your way through it if you have to.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I downloaded TikTok was I went through doing professional shows with companies like PQA that I mentioned just now, or doing school plays in secondary, and I was like, brilliant, we're getting things done. COVID hit, and I had nothing to act, I had nothing to perform, and I'm someone that I'll struggle. I don't know why I picked acting as a career to go down, because I will struggle with those months of no work. I will go insane. I'll feel like I'm trapped in a cage. But I downloaded TikTok and I realized I can act whatever I want and be roles I already admire and like. I can be Doctor Who. It doesn't matter. I can be a doctor. Or I can be my own. That I can act. So it's a lifesaver for performers. I think this app is an absolute lifesaver for performers.
You might be the 14th Doctor in disguise.
Oh, I wish. That's still, if I ever get to be a companion of the Doctor, that's when I'll consider retiring. That's when I'll consider just going, what else can I do after this? Because acting wasn't something I always wanted to. The job I always wanted to have was a lawyer. But then when I was about 11 or 12, that's because I grew up watching a lot of court dramas that I shouldn't have been watching. When I was about 11 or 12, I actually started studying it, and actually the can't choose their work again. So lawyers have to send people like murderers and horrible people, not because they agree with what they've done, but because that's their job. And I couldn't do that. I could not do that. And then as a child, I had horrible self-confidence. I was terrible at it. I'd be terrified to speak to people who worked in supermarkets. Growing up, I'd be absolutely petrified to speak to strangers or even look at them. I'd be petrified. So the PQA Acting Academy opened near me, and my parents said, we'll get him to go in there as a matter of a confidence thing. Not even as an acting thing, it's a confidence thing. So he knows how to speak to people and that he can open up and be more who he is. And then for the first year of it, I hated acting. What's the point in doing this? It's stupid. It's silly. It's not right. And then my dad went, if you're an actor, you could be in Doctor Who. And I went, bam, right. And that's when my brain snapped and went, yeah, it's not bad, is it? And so when I'm in Doctor Who, even if it's Man Shot by Dalek, where you see the back of my head, that'll be my moment. That'll be my magnum opus. That'll be my I've made it career landing moment.
That's it, because the thing is, the Daleks have to be in Doctor Who. I think there's some sort of copyright thing where they have to be in every season.
I think Terry Nation, who made them, I think he did a contract where they had to appear. I think it was something like that.
It's annoying though. I would rather them not be in every season.
Yeah.
New monsters would be nice.
It would be because the thing that they do this with every monster, but they always build up the fan favorites as a big surprise. But the name of the monster will be in the title of the episode. So you'll have an episode story like Rise of the Cybermen, and it's a big shock moment when you see a Cyberman. That's how it's built up and acting. I'm like, we know it. It's in the title. We've seen that. There's no shock. Doctor Who's done it since it started. I'll never understand. It's the one thing I would change about the show. Get rid of their monster name. If you're gonna have them a surprise, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Don't put it in. But Daleks will always be there. I mean, in some stories they've been wasted and there's no point in them being there. But in some of them, I'm glad that they come back that often, because there are some gems. There are some absolute gems.
Yeah. How is your Crohn's doing at the moment? Would you say?
It's idling. Checkup I had was about 3 months. It was said you get what they call, but you get these injections every 2 weeks. I was told by me that levels aren't doing great, and even though I'm taking my tablets every day, there's still something not right. They were saying you might have to start getting these injections or steroids or whatever, because I've started getting symptoms that you would normally get in a flare-up, as in the fatigue much more, the more bathroom side is worse, or the stomach cramps after eating food or anything. Stomach cramps and fatigue. If I could cure them and destroy them, that would be the dream. But it was funny that you asked that, because I have an appointment. We're recording this on a Friday. I have an appointment on Monday coming up to actually go to my GP and say something's wrong and find out what it is. But it's middling. It's something that I'll say what's going on to the GP, and the GP will probably be a little bit concerned. But to me, this is dealt with for a few years. As yourself, it's something that you deal with. So it could be better, but it could be worse. The best way I can describe it. It could be better, worse.
Yeah. Well, I hope everything gets sorted. And
fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed indeed. Ethan, one last thing before we finish up. I just wanted you to, like, if you have any advice, and also if you have any like favorite quotes from Doctor
Who. Ooh, favorite quotes. There's a lot. In terms of quotes that are great for advice, if people listening to this podcast, not only just because like Doctor Who, but because they're suffering from conditions like autism or Crohn's or anything else, whether it's mental or physical, one of the best that I heard in the show that really helped me realize that everything just is the one from the beautiful about Van Gogh, where to the end at the gallery, when Amy thinks that they've saved him by showing him his future and showing that it's one that he's truly loved, but that part of history can't be changed. He still unfortunately took his own life, and the guy that nothing's changed. And 11 holds Amy and just says that ghost line. The way I see it, life is a pile of good things and bad things. The good things don't always soften the bad things, but vice versa. The bad things don't have to ruin the good things or make them unimportant. And we definitely added to his list of good things. That is the best one I give in terms of people who are struggling with a condition, or just if they're in a stage where they don't know who they are, they're struggling with identity, or they've just lost their job, they've just come out of a relationship. That's it. Like, there will be the shits, there will be the bad bits, but there will also be the good bits. And a lot of the time, it's worth going through the bad to get to the good.
Yeah.
Along with, and the other quote I can best give, just the main message I always want to give the universe, if I ever got to be famous or significant other than just my circle of friends and who knows me, if I was a face that people knew, the advice I would always give is love is the answer. Never be cruel, never be cowardly, laugh hard, run fast, be kind. Because just be good, people. Just be good, because life is too short and life is far too serious to make it grittier and worse. Have a laugh, do something stupid, make that joke, ask that person out, get that job, buy that outfit that you think will make you look stupid. Go for it, because life is too serious to take seriously. Just have a laugh and just be kind, because everyone's got their own stuff going on. So for God's sake, listen to them and take care. That's the best advice I could give. Be kind.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ethan, because I completely agree with everything that you've said, because be kind is really important, especially the world we're still living in now. And
Yeah.
and like everyone else is going through their own battles. If it's in our country, it's still another country as well. But yeah, I've really enjoyed our chat today.
It's been lovely. Absolutely
been
lovely.
awesome.
I've loved this.
Yeah, it's been awesome, because I even to everyone listening, I didn't know Ethan had Crohn's until 5 minutes beforehand. So that was
Before we press record.
Yeah, just before we press record. I said to Ethan what we were talking about, and then with autism and Doctor Who, and then I said I had Crohn's, and then Ethan said he has a Crohn's, and then
And then, bam.
yep. I suppose we were both surprised from each other as well. But yeah, it's been great, Ethan. I'm sure we'll keep up to date with each other, and we'll do this again as well. I love that.
I hope so. I look forward to it.
Well, thanks, Ethan. It's been an awesome chat.
Thank you.